And my parents really proved their faith by their actions. And so that was the greatest gift they gave me. And that's where we kind of innovated Mobilize Love, and that's why our first pillars will meet physical needs first and without strings attached. Most of our things that we do, we don't even preach at all. We just are there, we're present. I think it's the ministry of presence and then meeting physical needs. And so we had community activists, community leaders saying, don't show up. This is a very bad time. Not even the mayor could have her press conference. What did we do? We didn't listen to anyone. We just showed up anyway. We meet physical needs, we teach personal life skills, and then we establish presence in underserved communities.
We believe that the next wave of innovation is innovation in the area of social impact.
We want to try to bring awareness about the incarcerated.
A huge number of people are currently homeless simply because they could not get legal help.
A safe place where they can get set free.
There's no hack for human connection.
Codependency is an addiction.
Do not try to do this big thing at once. Start with a little.
When you're searching for the gold, you will get back so much more than you ever thought possible.
So what do you think? The ball's in your court.
Hello, welcome to the Innovate podcast powered by Geo. I'm your host, Ted Haas. We're here in the House of Web3 in the Presidio in beautiful San Francisco, right next to the gorgeous Golden Gate Bridge. And the subject is innovation. Let's solve the world's biggest problems. The Bay Area is known for technological innovation, and hey, we've been killing it at that. But unfortunately, we're also a leader in other areas like homelessness, human trafficking, prison recidivism, mass incarceration, food insecurity. Here's our dream. Is innovation coming into the social sectors so that we can solve the world's biggest problems. We believe these problems are solvable. And someone said that Abraham Lincoln said that the best way to predict the future is to make it happen. That's our philosophy. My future of California is a state where no child is left behind, where there is no food insecurity, where prison recidivism, where homelessness only exists in the history books. And I believe we can make that happen if we all work together. So I'm here with my dear friend Christian Huang, founder of Mobilize Love. He is an innovator. Your dad's an innovator. You guys are the OGs who've been doing this. So why don't you start out by introducing yourself and Mobilize Love?
Thanks, Ted, for having me. It's great to be here. My name's Christian, and my wife and I founded Mobilize Love together, and that was in 2017. But that was after years and years of watching my dad kind of model the kind of work that he did for many years. I grew up in the nonprofit world, and so it framed my worldview. It stuck with me. It's something that I always wanted to do. And so, I worked with him at City Impact for, I think, 17 years total. I helped lead also a city team for 3 years, and then we started Mobilize Love in 2017. And then the other stuff we do on the side is we're also the chaplains for the San Francisco Giants.
Oh,
so we do both of those.
Okay,
right.
So what is Mobilize Love? What do you do?
Mobilize Love, we exist to show up and give hope. And so the way that we do that is we use outreach trucks to go into underserved neighborhoods.
That's innovative.
Yep. We use outreach trucks, go to underserved communities, and we provide mobile after-school programs and then mobile human services. And so, but really the flagship program is our mobile after-school program. If you were to say, or boil down to the three pillars of what we do, we meet physical needs, we teach personal life skills, and then we establish presence in underserved communities.
And I love your innovation because your father founded the mission there. What's his name again?
Roger Huang, and he founded San Francisco City Impact.
There in
the Tenderloin District. Yep.
And now you're innovating off of all you learned from him and taking that same amazing care, but taking it to where they are.
Yep.
In the cars.
Yep.
Through your trucks. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing my parents taught me was they just committed to a single neighborhood. I think they're going on 40 years now.
Wow.
Just showing up for the Tenderloin District. I mean, that's their primary and sole focus is really that one community, and they've been serving there for 40 years, I think. And so that the idea of showing up every day. I mean, my dad's an incredibly hard worker. My mom is as well. And seeing that modeled, as I was growing up, it really shaped my worldview. I think there's a lot of people that grow up in Christian homes, but oftentimes the beliefs and the actions might have some...
Yeah. What does Christian mean?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
Christian defined the way Jesus defines Christian, or is Christian defined as a religious worldview, or a political worldview?
Yeah, exactly. And my parents really proved their faith by their actions. And so that was the greatest gift they gave me, was proving
I hate to
proving
say
their
that
faith.
that's kind of an innovation.
I know, seriously, right? Oh gosh, guys that actually walk it out. Yeah.
So tell me more. Like I wanted to hear more. Tell me more about that. Like, what were some of the experiences that impacted you?
During my formative years and just growing up, little things like we would spend our weekends serving in the Tenderloin. I don't think my parents at least for me, never really put me in sports programs, or we just served on the weekends. That's just what we did. That was just our DNA. Holidays, we didn't really have family holidays. We were leading outreaches on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, 4th of July.
A lot of people could end up being burned or traumatized by that, but apparently that's had quite an opposite effect on you. So what was those experiences like for you?
Yeah, I'd love to sit here and say, we're really philanthropic and have huge, generous hearts. I could just only speak for myself, but it's more the fact that I think two things. For them, their lives were radically changed. They had no hope. So when they found hope, they couldn't help but give it to others.
Wow.
They had nothing. My dad was homeless for a while in the city. My mom was broken beyond repair.
Had they had you already?
No, this is before me. I think late 20s, maybe early 30s, late 20s. And so when they received hope and love, the natural reaction to that is to give it to others.
Now they're faith-based, right? So this was like a religious experience that changed their lives.
Yeah, and not assuming everyone watching this comes from, or we share the same faith, but yeah, my parents are Christian. And I'll tell you how my dad met Jesus. He was actually passed out on the couch, half drunk after a night of partying, late 20s, and had experienced so much brokenness from his past. And he was abused by his father for many years, and he was just broken. And had no hope. And on that night, half drunk, passed out on the couch, he heard this message of hope. And that really changed his life.
He heard it, like it just appeared in the room?
I'm sorry, it was through a televangelist on TV.
Okay.
So someone on TV was talking about this man named Jesus, and my dad said, that's what I've been looking for my whole life. So for my parents, that was their reaction after receiving love and forgiveness and hope. They had to give it away. But for me, I had nothing else to compare it to. So that's why, why didn't I get burnt out serving or giving or living that type of lifestyle? I didn't have anything to compare it to. That was just our life. And so that's why I say, it's not like I have a huge heart. It's just, it's just what was modeled. And I loved it,
That's so beautiful. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Growing up in that environment and just, this is your destiny. It's your life calling.
Yeah. I always joke around that, if my dad passes away, there's not much inheritance, but I'll probably get a food bank or something. That's our little running joke in the family. But
so, what are the seeds of Mobilize Love? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I worked with my parents for a total of like 17 years in 2 different stints. But
that's where you actually worked for them. So that's not when you were a child growing up.
Yeah, and then that was growing up, and then I worked with them for a few years, and I was the executive director for like 6 years.
Oh, okay.
So. But in 2017, my wife and I, we then were starting our family. We had 4 kids, and we were looking kind of at the landscape of the city, and we started seeing some other needs beyond the Tenderloin, and ultimately we just felt compelled, to do something about some of the other areas in the city. So we really just took the experience and the knowledge that we learned from City Impact, and we put it on wheels. And
where did the idea of putting it on wheels come from? Is just like a no-brainer for you, or?
No, I mean, I love to, it's funny that the topic is innovation. I don't feel like I'm innovative at all. I don't. I think some people say we are, but man, I steal almost everything we do. And
oh, that's innovation. You're stealing it from one area, applying it to another.
That's what the nonprofit world is. It's like 3 keys to success in nonprofits is plagiarism, plagiarism, plagiarism.
I'm going to borrow that.
But honestly, my wife and I were invited to New York City to speak at my friend's nonprofit he leads there in Brooklyn. And we went like late October in 2016 or something like that. And it was there that they modeled this whole organization built on basically these box trucks that go into the 5 boroughs of New York City. And they have what they call Sidewalk Sunday School right on the sidewalk for children, serving 21,000 kids a week. So my wife and I, we brought our 2 oldest kids. We went there, we saw that. We were so moved by that experience. And we thought to ourselves, gosh, why doesn't this exist in the Bay Area? Why not San Francisco? It's so simple. The concept is so simple.
And what year was that?
Late 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so as we started,
you moved on it.
Yeah, we started feeling the nudge to do something, and we had that in our minds, and we incorporated in April 2017, and just took off running from there. So we were inspired by my friends in New York City, and then we did innovate off of what they did, because they are primarily using box trucks that act as stage trucks, and then they only do really kind of one thing, which is Sidewalk Sunday School. But we can't do that in San Francisco. You can't just go, show up in the neighborhood and start preaching at people. That's just not who we are as a city. I think we have to, like Jesus's model of ministry was really, he was mobile, actually. He went town to town. And he would do something for their physical need first. Oftentimes, maybe a physical healing, but sometimes just feeding people. And as a foodie,
when we read I read something recently, talking about Jesus feeding people, the feeding of the 5,000. When we read it, we say, oh, wow, it's a miracle. He multiplied the food. For the New Testament reader, for the original audience, what they would have noticed, that was a very, very sectarian society. Everyone was arguing over what it meant to be Jewish. And then what they used ritual cleanliness and eating together as the divisive tool. What they would have noticed is the miracle that a holy man brought everyone together and fed everyone together in unity. Like, that is so powerful when we talk about meeting felt needs and connecting people, bringing the community together. That really spoke to me. And I see it in what you guys are doing.
Oh, there's so much about food that's close to God's heart. Honestly, I think there's so much power around food. Yeah, and breaking down walls. It is a common ground, no matter what skin color, political ideologies. We all want to eat, and we all want to eat well.
And also using that. He was using food to meet the felt need, which is everyone was divided. He brought them together. We're one community. And then in that context, he healed them. But it wasn't, he's meeting their needs, not just coming and preaching an ideology.
Exactly. And that's where we kind of innovated Mobilize Love. And that's why our first pillars will meet physical needs first and without strings attached. Like, most of our things that we do, we don't even preach at all. We just are there. We're present. I think it's the ministry of presence and then meeting physical needs.
Well, that's innovative. That's extremely innovative in the Christian world, because everyone wants to preach. And even if they give away food, often it's like, well, you listen to our message first, then we'll give you the food. And you're innovating. You're doing it a different way. And I love that.
To see a city restored, it's not always about having a sermon. And that's not how we have to always gauge success as Christians. How many times did we preach? How many people listened? How many people responded? The ministry of presence is really bringing a sense of peace to a community. And you'll be surprised, one of our soft KPIs that we actually measure through our surveys, people have said about the work of Mobilize Love, and I'm very proud of our team for this, but that we bring races together, and there's a sense of peace and calm over the community when we show up. Oftentimes we're in neighborhoods that are kind of dangerous, but people have kind of said about our t-shirts, even when we wear our logos, that it's a bulletproof vest, and that when our trucks show up, the parents let their kids outside. That for us is the gospel. That requires no sermon. We're bringing peace to an area.
You can't argue against that. And yeah, that's so beautiful. And I think that's an innovation that is deeply needed in communities of faith. Like we've got to measure the right things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And measure the health of the community, not the health of our group only.
Yeah.
And, getting them outside of the four walls to go make the community safer, make it better. And I think, if we can do that, yeah.
Ted, when we launched our stage truck, so we had just built our food truck, and so we were launching our stage truck and our food truck. Two things. It was the week before shelter in place, so we had no idea. We had set this date to launch, and it was the week before shelter in place. Secondly, it was a week after there was an elderly Asian man in a predominantly black neighborhood who was jumped for his recycling cans, and the video went viral in San Francisco about this elderly Asian man that was jumped for his cans. It was a very hostile time because the mayor had gone to do a press conference there, and the community gave her backlash because she only showed up when it was an elderly Asian man, when sometimes young African American men are pass away and she doesn't show up. So that's what they were saying. All that to say, it was a very contentious time with race, a week before shelter in place. Well, our whole team at the time was Asian. And so we had community activists, community leaders saying, don't show up. This is a very bad time. You're all Asian team. And it was a block away from where this thing happened. Not even the mayor could have her press conference. It's not a good time in this neighborhood to show up. So me and my friend V, he's Cambodian. What did we do? We didn't listen to anyone. We just showed up anyway. I said, so what? I don't care. It's just two of us. And we showed up with the food truck, shelter in place, and the exact neighborhood, 1 block away, we just showed up because at the end of the day, people on the street are very smart, and they can sniff when someone's a fraud and a fake, and they know if you're real or not. And they checked us. They checked, actually, V. But they could tell right away we had no strings attached or agenda. We're just here to serve. COVID was actually a blessing for us because a lot of nonprofits couldn't gather people inside. And because we were outdoor and we were mobile, we could serve neighborhoods like crazy. And then they started to recognize, oh, these are the guys that just mobilize love. So, showing up.
So tell me more about what you're excited now with the trucks, what you guys are doing. Fast forward a few years, you founded in, how old are you? Almost
This is our 7th year, yeah. Almost 7 years in September. But yeah, I think what we've landed on as our most unique contribution is really teaching children. I think that's the thing that makes us very unique. I think a lot of nonprofits can meet physical needs, and we need more of that. There's never a shortage of that. But what makes us really unique is teaching children. And we landed on that. And we can't teach everything, but really 3 things: social emotional learning, literacy, and spiritual life lessons. I think those 3 things are what we found to kids in these neighborhoods have a gap with social emotional learning, having a social emotional tool belt. Most of the children are reading below grade level. And almost every kid that we surveyed over a span of 2 years doesn't belong to a faith community, which means kind of there's no moral compass or ethics being taught sometimes. And so we just...
the majority of them are from broken homes too, like single family homes, or...
A large majority from single family homes, absolutely. And so that's our most unique thing we do. And the thing that excites us most is when we can show up and teach children. So when you double click on the word hope, we exist to show up and give hope, but that double clicking on hope, it's a perpetual hope, which we believe is God's love, but there's very practical hope. Even if someone doesn't want God's love or doesn't want to hear the message of our faith, that's fine. But we could still offer a very practical hope, which is literacy and social emotional learning. I think every kid can use a social emotional tool belt and the ability to read.
And that's known as a best practice. I mean, like, the earlier you can intervene, the better the outcomes come. And if children are reading below grade level there's a whole science behind it. If they're reading below grade level in like elementary school, That means in junior high, you're going to have absenteeism. In high school, they're going to drop out, and then juvenile hall, and then prison. Like, there's a whole science behind it. And the cheapest, best way, biggest bang for your buck is early intervention, get them up to reading level or even above. And then that's going to change the trajectory for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. Frederick Douglass said that. He said that to give someone freedom is to teach them to read, in essence. And by the way, we aren't pointing our finger at other children saying that's what they need. That this resonates with Corey and I. Our youngest son really struggled with reading, just could not retain information. We realized right away there was something off with his reading. Even through our network of friends and Corey being fully present in his life, advocating for him, we couldn't get the testing that we needed for our son Levi. They had quoted us $10,000 to $15,000 for the type of testing that he would need.
For dyslexia testing.
For dyslexia testing. That's what we were assuming it was. And we heard multiple people say different things, but one of the things that we just launched on May 18th is mobile dyslexia screening unit. We didn't do this just because of Levi, but it just kind of aligned. We want to teach children literacy, social emotional learning.
You have one of my favorite celebrities helping you with that.
Yeah, so we're partnering on this truck. It's the wellness truck. We're partnering with the GP2 Foundation, Gary Payton II,
I love
himself
him as a player, and I loved him even more when I heard he was involved in this. I mean, wow.
Yeah, he's dyslexic,
What a story.
and when we had a chance to talk, we talked about the fact that that what the world would consider a weakness, dyslexia, or not being able to really read a book. I say, hey man, you can't read a book, but you can really read a room. And that's really, a lot of people with dyslexia, they're great leaders and they have great people skills. And we see that even my son Levi, and you see that in GP2. When he's on the court, the plus minus is crazy. I mean, he's incredible. He's just a leader of people.
How can he be, he's a 6'1" big guy.
Exactly.
Designated dunker at 6'1", and the adversity he overcame to get in the NBA. And I only knew his NBA story, but then I heard about this. I go, oh, he's been overcoming adversity his whole life.
His whole life.
Yeah.
It's made him. It's that seemingly what the world would call weakness has informed who he is and made him so successful in life. Honestly.
Are you familiar with the paradigm? This is another innovation. The paradigm of social services of place-based, asset-based versus need-based, service-based. Are you familiar with that? Two different paradigms?
No.
Okay, so the needs-based, service-based means we go into a community, we survey the needs, then we decide which one is the biggest. So like, okay, there's a whole bunch of needs, but they're all starving. So the other needs will meet later. So let's start serving the food, okay? In time of crisis, that's an important framework, but that's really the only framework. That's the predominant framework we have. So we go into a community, survey their needs, and then we build services to meet those needs. So need-based, service-based. The problem is though, now that they've stopped feeding, we have a machine that knows how to feed people, that you want to keep feeding the machine, and we scale that up, and we keep, or whatever service it is. And that also leads to a fragmented system where place-based, asset-based is a different paradigm. You go into the community, and instead of saying there's needs here, we know there's needs.
There are leaders in that community, and that's the first thing we do when we show up in the community. We ask around, who's doing what? We sit down with them, we talk to them, and then we offer complimentary service because they're usually doing great work, but not the full work. And we do part of the work. We don't do the full work ourselves. And so collaborating is a huge part of what we do. I mean, we wouldn't do anything we would do, without
And then
collaboration.
you go into a community, the communities that you go into, one of the main things is a local champion, right?
Yeah, so we have, our business model it's called Engine. And so we look for a secret sauce, a high concentration of children and families, and then a community partner that's willing to engage with us, that welcomes us in, because they're there every day. We show up, we're kind of like the football season, NFL. I mean, it's like 16 weeks, and we are like, explosive, but it's short. It's a short duration, high impact, high energy, but really it's a short season. These guys are like MLB, I mean, they're there for the long haul, 182 games. They're there every week. They're there every day. So we need a community partner to welcome us in. And it's called Flip the Script. We point to them as the local hero.
Yeah.
We offer a complimentary
Place-based,
service.
asset base. You
Yeah.
found the leaders there locally and you're building around them.
And then we look for a church partner, though. I think that's one of the things that a lot of communities, churches want to reach their neighborhoods, but often don't know how. Communities are skeptical of churches, as sometimes they should be, because it's, and so I think we have that secret sauce of being a neutral convener, because churches, I think, are so underrated in bringing blessings to schools and communities, and they just don't know how to sit at that table and eat a meal together. And so when Mobilize Love shows up, we'll find a church partner, a community partner, high concentration of families, and it's just like, let's serve together.
And it's like just bringing the elements together and letting everyone partake.
Absolutely.
So what's next? What are you doing with the dyslexic truck? I know there's some exciting stuff there. But that and what's next for you? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I think we launched that wellness truck, so that'll be mobile dyslexia screening.
And you're partnering with the schools, right?
We're partnering with schools, the public schools in San Francisco. We're partnering with UCSF Dyslexia Foundation, which, by the way, they're launching a new technology off of that truck called Multitudes. That screening that we needed for Levi, that was $15,000. They can get an early screening for free off of our truck using this technology in 15 minutes. I mean, it's completely innovative, and they've spent a lot of money getting that technology.
They're innovating on that, but what inspires me so much is all around the Bay Area, there's incredible innovation in every area, but in the area of human wellness, from childhood to old age like me to, my father in his 80s, there's all this innovation, but it's available for the elite, for the wealthy.
Yeah.
What we have not done yet is made it available for those who are disenfranchised. But we've spent plenty of money. We're spending tons of money,
Mm-hmm.
and all this. But if we could bring this innovation to them with early intervention, it's like, that's cool. To me, that's a really exciting realm, and you guys are on the cutting edge of it.
No, there's no hack for human connection. And that's where I think the innovators get lost,
But
right?
human connection is the hack for everything else. There you go.
Dang. Come on, let's share that quote right there. But there's no hack for you. I mean, so you think about all this forward progress in innovation. I'm going to use an analogy that might offend someone because I'm going to use the word nerd. Okay, but you think of it like a nerd,
It offends me,
like someone who's super smart and just hacking away, and they've built something great. But then you stick that person in front of an actual human being, they don't know how to talk or engage, right? Because they've just spent all this time here, and it's like that. When you build something great or something innovative, but at the end of the day, you got to show up to a community in a non-weird way and learn how to just provide a direct service to people in a non-assuming, non-threatening way. It's like you've lost that connection. And I feel like that's part of our gifting is UCSF, and they're not weird at all. But they've nerded out on this technology. And all we've done is we're kind of like Pez, like the candy Pez. We just figured a way to package this beautiful gift of early dyslexia screening, packaging it in a way where families aren't threatened by it. So that's why we branded our wellness truck. It's superhero themed. And it's got a beautiful picture of GP2 dunking. Because parents, and sometimes maybe even immigrant families, are skeptical of the healthcare system. They're afraid of doctors. They're afraid of fluorescent lighting. So this truck is non-threatening. It's superhero themed, so that we welcome them in. It's a fun environment, so they can trust the providers to render the screening. That's all we're doing is breaking down that weirdness of just learning how to connect.
Is there a policy or a law passed that the schools have to provide this screening? And now you guys are going to be the group that does it for the low-income schools that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah, so there's kind of a divine providence. We took this truck in faith, not knowing what services we were going to provide. We built it out. We wrapped it. We started talks with GP2, UCSF. And then this year, the governor signed into law that public schools have to offer this type of screening. And when we talk to principals, they're overwhelmed at, how are we going to render this? Well, our truck will show up and to kind of take care of the whole school.
I love it. So at least the low-income schools that you No, they'll get covered.
Yeah. We're going to the low-income schools, though. You know, the other schools that have affluence or great, like, parent involvement, they'll have to figure that out on their own.
Yeah, no. So I love what you're doing. All right. So, what's your call to action?
Yeah, I mean, we're just in a mode where we put this strategic plan together, where we are strengthening our existing programs because they're going really well, and then we're scaling. Actually, the word scale I don't want to mislead anyone, but it's really building one more fleet of trucks that'll be used for regional uses because we've been having requests from the East Bay, Peninsula, and South Bay. But it's putting too much strain on our existing fleet. And so we're actually building a second fleet of trucks to serve the other regions. So we're scaling in that regard.
And very soon you're going to also be building up a curriculum to train people to do what you guys do.
Well, I mean, with that, yes, because the strategic plan we put together, by the way, it was a strategist from Uber that helped us put it together. So
it's another innovation. You took one of the world's best strategists in the for-profit area, and
she wrote the business plan for Uber before they were even a public company. Wow, cool. So she knows how to get things done, and so she's found a way for us to do this in a sustainable way that leans into partnerships in those regions. And to do it sustainably. So we're going to teach the model. We're going to deploy the model, and they could use our assets. We'll have the trucks, and we'll have the knowledge, and we'll have the education or the playbook. But it could be ran in those regions. I
love it. We need this in. The Bay Area is unique because we have the greatest wealth generated. I mean, history of humanity is we've generated more wealth in the last few decades than any other place at any time on the planet in any other time frame. But yet, it's not just San Francisco and the Tenderloin and all that. Every place, even in the most affluent areas, you'll have low income. Like the homes on my block are just skyrocketed in the South Bay. So they're cheap in the Bay Area. They're probably between 1.2 and $1.5 million. That's a cheap home. Okay.
That's crazy.
That's the homes.
Wow.
But there's also high food insecurity in my same zip code.
Yeah.
And you have pockets of poverty right next to pockets of tremendous affluence. And this is needed. Taking these resources, if we can do that, that will change the Bay Area. That's the whole goal. So I love that you guys are building this resource to do that.
Yeah, we feel called to it. We love what we do.
So what you need is philanthropists. You guys are a nonprofit who want to get behind something really exciting.
Yeah.
You have a great connection with GPT. And who was the linebacker I met?
Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. From the Niners,
yeah. You're,
Flan.
You're chaplain for the Giants, but you're really a crazy fan for the 49ers. And you said you really don't care about any other sport the same way.
Not that I don't care. I get overly excited for the Niners. I think football is my number one sport that I love to watch.
What I loved about meeting him and seeing his work is to see how you weren't just helping him do good. Like, he was so lit up.
Yeah.
And I saw, what you're doing is you're reconnecting him with his community. And it was so powerful. Like you're not just ministering to the kids, you're ministering to him in a deep way. So you guys need philanthropists to come partner with you to help scale up this amazing thing. Mm-hmm. Faith partners too. I mean, I'm sure you have a long list of people who want you to come help them.
Yes.
They need to come learn from you. And if they want to bring you down, they've got to bring you down in the right. I love the fact that you're focused. You know what you're called to, and you're not going to go outside of that. You're growing to expand, to build the system to do it, but you're not going to go rushing around, meeting every need. Mm-hmm. You're going to do what you're called to. So if faith communities want to come alongside you, I say, can they come? Can they volunteer?
Absolutely, yeah. We always have volunteer opportunities. It's on our website.
So that would be a good way for them to come learn, come sit around, hang out with you guys, adopt you for a while, support you, help your mission here in San Francisco, and come learn from you. And then you'll help them replicate it. They can build their own trucks,
Absolutely.
Let's replicate this program all across the Bay Area. and then all across California, and then nationwide. Okay, hey, like the people in New York, they need to start innovating off of what you do. So expand beyond just Sunday school trucks.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. How do they get a hold of you? How do people find you?
We're most active on Instagram, so at Mobilize Love is probably the best way, or mobilizelove.org.
Okay, and you can reach out to me. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. I generally respond to a direct message. So thank you so much for your attention, and let's innovate together as a community. We can solve the world's biggest challenges. We can bring these innovations and these best practices to the young children. We can see children not as a problem, but as the greatest asset our community has. And hey, I appreciate your work so much. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, Ted.
All right. And thank you for watching.